What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Three Wide Podcast. This time, sadly, hosted by myself alone. Uh, a rather quiet week in Formula One. No race day today, as there's a week break between Japan and USA, as they're going from Europe to America. So I'd imagine there's a break needed in that period. Although it would have been nice to have the race today. But there's a couple of bits of news that I wanted to touch on in the world of Formula One this past week. So let's just dive into it. So, I know Gunther Steiner came on social media, and I think he was asked by like a media member, and he was talking about how competitive the teams have been this season. And I, for a second, disregarded what he said, but then I thought about it, and yeah, I mean, obviously you have Williams on, I believe, 8 points says here. Then they got AlphaTauri, Haas, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, all separated by like 20 points. So these last four races could go either way. Like you could see Haas jump up to sixth place magically. You could see AlphaTauri magically jump up to sixth place. You could see Haas go to last place, Aston Martin go to last place. Ninth place. It's really up for grabs this season, and in years past we would kind of have a clear view by this time, like where everyone would finish. Like I know in last year we knew McLaren were a sure or 2 years ago that they were a sure thing for fourth place, and you obviously you have this year that Red Bull's a sure thing for first, Mercedes and Ferrari are most likely second and third. But in seasons past and season prior, the teams toward the bottom end of the table were quite far off each other in points. But again, 6th to 9th place is all up for grabs still. And there's still a really good race between Alpine and McLaren for 4th. So it's a really competitive season this year, which I think is the reason why the driver market has been really crazy this year, because so many competitive cars, and every team wants to do better than the team above or below them, right? So the only way to keep doing that is making sure your drivers, you have the best drivers that you could. And, so most of these teams this year realized, hey, we could go into the market and maximize more potential of our car by getting a better driver. So clearly the regulations that F1 put in for this season have, started to work. Maybe it's not super competitive. You had Red Bull fucking are clear of Ferrari, right? But, in terms of like the midfield battle, there's so much competition and so much at stake that the driver market's really, really heavy, especially in those like 10th through 5th place teams. As we're seeing now, even the top teams like McLaren and Alpine are not necessarily top teams, but the higher up teams are making driver changes. So it's a good thing. It's a good start to the regulated Formula One, and hopefully we see more competition improve as well. But yeah, very good point Steiner made and had me thinking. Another thing, Mario Andretti related, has been in talks. It's been rumored that he's been in talks to make a return, or his team to make a return into the Formula One grid in a couple years, and that's confirmed for sure. Andretti was interviewed by Sky Sports, I believe, last week, like Sky F1, where he came out and publicly said that yes, Andretti are in talks to, like, they're trying to become a Formula One team again. And my thing is, they'd most likely be sponsored by Audi. They'd probably come in the same time as Audi. I'm not sponsored, supplied and powered by Audi or a Volkswagen Group, whatever you want to call it. But then what I would think, my opinion is, and let me know what you guys think of this. If you have an American team like Andretti, right, come in, or Italian American, however you want to call it, would you think Haas would then switch to the same supplier? Like, let's say if Andretti go to Audi, would you think Haas would cut ties with Ferrari and have an Audi supplier as well, and there'll be like a USA chain of team? Let me know what you think about that. I think it'd be a really good thing if like the USA teams have like their own engine, like Andretti and Haas would be powered by Audi, when you still have every other team powered by the same 4 engines right now. To have like American team, the only 2 American teams powered by the same engine, I think that could create some more competition, some more strategic battles on and off track. That's just my little opinion to make F1 seem pretty intense and improve the competition levels in the future. So let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, Mario Andretti also drove a McLaren F1 car, I believe. I don't know exactly what model or what spec of it, but yeah, an 82-year-old driving a Formula One car. It's quite amazing to see, isn't it? And then a little brief statement to pass on that Seb Vettel's obviously retiring. Right, we're gonna all miss him. He's came out this week and said that Lewis Hamilton has been his most competitive and toughest rival yet. I feel like we were really gypped of seeing a lot of Seb versus Lewis because these are two really, really good drivers, and we saw in Canada what they could do on track to each other, right? Really push each other. Two aggressive drivers going for the win, right? But Seb didn't really have the necessarily best machinery under him at Ferrari, and sometimes there would be unfortunate events like Kvyat driving into him, you know what I mean? Things like that, things that are most likely out of his control. And by the end of his Ferrari stint, he was already not the same Vettel as what we were used to. But I feel like it would have been nice if things were a little bit different, where we saw a lot more of Lewis versus Seb, because I feel like it's a really, really even and skilled battle that I would love to see. Like Max and Lewis last year, for example, was a great battle on and off track, and I feel like that'll always be spoken about. But something that'll never be spoken about is Seb versus Lewis, because we didn't really see that much of it. But when we did, for example, Canada, 2017, 2018, when Seb got that penalty that was to some or to most deemed unfair, and lost the race because of that. I feel like if we saw a lot more of that, Seb could have more titles than Lewis. It'd be a completely different story. But I feel like as F1 fans, we were robbed of two really, really good drivers fighting each other out, in their primes of their career. Obviously, Lewis had not an easier career, but a more straightforward path to championships than Vettel did when Vettel's 4-year reign was over. But I would have loved to see more Lewis versus Seb. But yeah, it was nice to see that Vettel recognized the greatness of Lewis Hamilton. Also, some IndyCar news. IndyCar drivers Pato O'Ward and Alex Palou, I think two McLaren IndyCar drivers, are making their debuts in Formula One in free practice. I have it said here that in Austin, the race upcoming, the Circuit of the Americas, Alex Pato is making his Alex Palou is making his debut, and then in Abu Dhabi, Pato O'Ward is making his debut in FP1. Two drivers that can maybe fight, earn a seat in a couple of years' time in Formula One. Who knows what an FP1 drive could do to lure you to some seats, especially where the next point is that Haas just came out and said if Mick doesn't score points in these if he doesn't get points in any of these next 4 races, his seat will most likely be terminated, like his contract will be gone. The official statement saying that according to Haas, if Mick wants to keep his seat, he will have to earn points in the next couple of races, or one of the next couple of races. I honestly tend to agree. Yeah, that Schumacher name has such a really good ring to it, right? But when you're not getting the results and you're consistently crashing the car, it's hard to really keep that seat, especially when there's like I said earlier, when the driver market's already crazy as it is, and there's so much talent in the market and so much potential. Like you have drivers like Pourchaire and Drogovic, dominating in F2. And not signed, continually crashing an F1 car at the rate Mick's doing it, and not getting results is, not what you should be doing if you want to keep your seat. And it's at this rate where, if he were to lose his seat, he probably would not get a drive anywhere else, in my opinion, unless Williams would pick him up. I don't think that would happen, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you think Mick loses his seat to Haas, or in Haas, would he go to Williams? Because that's the only seat left, right? I mean, De Vries was picked up by AlphaTauri, and Alpine got Gasly. So, if Mick don't get points in these next couple of races, or one of these next couple races, it could be his time done in Formula One for now. And as a driver who showed really, really good promise in the middle of the season in races like Austria, Great Britain, and I forgot the other race, but he scored like 3 consecutive points finishes. Maybe it was Imola, but I could be wrong. Yeah, he really is really, really good in that little stretch in like July, mid-season, or like early start to the season. I don't know where that form went. You see him crashing the car so much more, like I already said. Like his crash bill, I think, is one of the highest on the Formula One grid right now. And yeah, Haas, Gunther Steiner, we all know his personality. Like we see in Drive to Survive, he's not one to take too many failures from a driver. No, although he has that last name to him, when there's talent out and the position Haas are in, they're always looking to improve, right? After being the laughingstock of Formula One for the last couple of years and having a pretty decent improving year this year, Haas only want to get better. And when one driver is consistently outperforming the other, they're going to want to change that other underperforming driver and upgrade him. Same thing what McLaren are doing, right? Lando Norris are constantly outperforming Daniel. Next thing you know, Daniel's out of his seat. So, I think this statement makes way for saying I believe Daniel Ricciardo might be at Haas. I'm really hoping he is because he deserves a seat in Formula One. Because I don't think Mick is going to get points in these next couple of races. I'm hope I'm wrong because I really like Mick's potential and I think he has a really good ceiling. But at the rate it's going right now, I don't see how Mick gets a seat in Formula One. Let me know what you guys think though. But hopefully, for Mick's case, he gets points. But for me, I'm hoping to see Daniel Ricciardo in a seat. So hopefully he comes to Haas and replaces Mick Schumacher, where Mick could hopefully get a job or a seat in Williams. And my last bit of news is probably the most crucial, where Bernie Ecclestone, I believe the ex-CEO, I don't know I don't remember his actual position, but I believe he was the ex-CEO of Formula One, basically came out and said that he believes that the Red Bull punishment for their salary cap breach will be a lot more severe than just a points deduction. Again, this could mean anything from a severe points deduction to an exclusion of a world's championship. I don't think they should exclude the championship last year for Max, or this one, or the constructors this year, or anything. Again, I said last podcast, which you guys could check out. If they were to do something and make it impactful, the most reasonable thing to do, in my opinion, is fine them for next season. Maybe like $20 million, $10 million, something significant that sets a precedent saying, listen, if you guys overspend by even 5%, you're going to be severely impacted for the next season. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a hefty penalty. So, like, rules are meant to be followed. And even if they're not followed by 5%, if they're broken by 5%, there's got to be a penalty. And it can't just be a little fine of $5,000, like, it wouldn't be $5,000, but you get the point. Yeah, a points deduction, in my opinion, for this season wouldn't do anything. So, yeah, what I'm thinking is that there's going to be a fine for next year. I think that's a logical thing to do, and hopefully the FIA do the logical thing to do, as they've been trying to do ever since last year's incident in Abu Dhabi that I don't want to speak about. But yeah, hopefully they can get this right, because it's been on every F1, like motorsport.com, even the Formula One site itself, and every podcast you can find out about Formula One is what's going to happen to Red Bull from this penalty. It's on everyone's mind. Hopefully we find out soon. But let me know what you guys think. You think Red Bull are going to get like a hefty fine? You think they're going to have some points deducted? If so, will it be for this season, last season, or next season? Do you think that Red Bull are going to have their driver, Max Verstappen, his championship will get removed for last year? Or in my opinion, or what I agree with, do you think that Red Bull will get fined in salary cap for next year? Basically have a less of a budget than every other team to use next season for their car. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And also, before we go, I have started my own individual channel called Ethan Reich 23, where I post my own racing clips. Yes, I love racing myself. I'm quite good at karting. I don't quite have the funds to like professionally do it, but if I could, I most definitely would. But I try to get as much karting action as I can, and I post some clips on my Instagram and TikTok that I'll leave a link to in the description if you guys want to check out. That'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, guys, anyway, hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Have another episode coming out on Wednesday. See you guys there. Take care, everyone, and peace.